they view? When did they chart? The data shows who played what part. Was a note changed? Was an alert displayed? The audit trail knows, while memories can fade. So whether you're a lawyer, nurse, or sleuth, pull up a seat, we'll search for the truth. Every click leaves a clue in the fray. This is what the chart won't say.
Hi everyone, welcome back to What the Chart Won't Say. I'm Sarah Pasha. I am an attorney who works as an EMR Audit Trail expert. If this is the first video of mine that you're watching and you are not an attorney or a clinician, I want to warn you that this video is going to be incredibly boring, okay? And I don't want you to think that all of my content is going to be like this video. I encourage you to watch some of the other videos that I've posted that I think are much more interesting. This is going to be a one-time video where I do an Excel tutorial for people who are in the industry I am, who work in the same industry that I do and want to learn how to use Excel to analyze EMR audit trails on their own. The things that I'm going to go over, there are already hundreds of videos on YouTube that exist for the same topic. It's all very, very basic things. Excel is capable of doing some really sophisticated things, and we're not going to be doing any of those. Okay, like this is like Excel 101. But I know that some people have a little bit of phobia or anxiety when it comes to technology and maybe specifically Excel. So what I did is I wrote out a script of all the basic things that I do in Excel when I get an EMR audit trail. And I took the time to write it out so that people who are maybe uncomfortable with technology or Excel just makes them nervous, I wrote the script with you in mind. Okay, I made it very, very simple, and I also am going to be playing it with an AI voiceovers to make sure that I stick to the script. I don't want to have to memorize the script. So I'll have an AI voice go over the script while I'm in the background moving the mouse and creating screenshots. It also, prevents me from talking too fast, which I am prone to do. So I'm going to go ahead and play that in a second. And before I move on to that, one more important thing. This video is not about how to analyze EMR audit trails or what the data means or which columns to look at. That is a completely different topic. This is only an Excel tutorial regarding the different tools that I use for audit trail analysis. If you actually want to learn how to analyze EMR audit trails, I do have a book that recently came out. The first 125 copies have already sold out, but I get the next batch of 100 books around Thanksgiving, and I'll be shipping those out December 1st. So if you'd like to get a copy of my book in the month of December, I would put your order in the next few weeks, definitely by Thanksgiving. And I also have a class in person in the Chicagoland area, February 28th and March 1st. So if you'd like to attend that, meet me in person. We're going to spend 2 days together getting nerdy about audit trails. So maybe I'll see you there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play the video. I think it'll be, maybe 8 to 10 minutes long. And then I'll come back at the end. I changed my mind. I know I said earlier in this video that I was using an AI voiceover, and I did try that several times, but they were all robotic and stiff and not engaging. So I decided to scrap that plan and just do it myself. Hopefully I don't speak too fast and you can understand me. It's not going to be scripted, but hopefully it still turns out to be a good video. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. This is a mock audit trail file that I created for this class. The data itself does not make any sense. So don't try figuring out what it means. It's just data to take up space so I can show Excel. If you are following along on your own and you want to mimic what I do in Excel, the first thing you need to make sure of is that you're not working with a locked audit trail. So that means check this ribbon area up here and make sure that it's not grayed out. If you can't see these in color, then it's grayed out, and that means you have a locked audit trail. If that's the case, then use the bookmarks below and go to the section about locked audit trails, follow those directions, and then come back here. If you're brand new to Excel and you're worried about messing up the data that's in your original audit trail file, you can create a brand new file just to practice with. You can select this rectangle right here in between A and 1. And when you do that, it selects the entire worksheet. Then right click and hit copy, or you can click copy up here. It's the same thing. Click that, go to File, New, and hit paste. And then you can save this file as a practice file. But let's go back to my file. Okay. The first thing I want to do is just go over layout. You see these letters at the top? These are columns, and these are the column names. These are rows. Each rectangle is a unique cell, and it has its own address. This is L7. This is A6. This is the formula bar that shows the content of whichever cell that you're in. If you're ever scrolling down a very long audit trail, because audit trails can be thousands of lines long, and you want to get to the top quickly, instead of scrolling back up manually, you can go here, the name box, and click or type in A1, hit enter, then you're back at the top. These are menu options up here. We're going to be mostly in the home menu. This area that I'm clicking, or I don't know if my mouse shows up on Zoom. I hope it does. But this whole area up here is the ribbon. So each menu will have its own ribbon. Like I'll click on a few just so you can see the differences. Okay. Down here, each of these tabs is its own worksheet. The entire file is a workbook, and these are worksheets. If you click on this, you get new ones, and you can right click on them, you can delete them, you can rename them. All right, so going back up here, let's talk about resizing columns. As you can see, it looks cramped. If I do select all by clicking that rectangle, and I move my cursor to right between A and B and double click, it will resize my columns to fit exactly what's in them. I can click this to undo what I've recently done. I can also manually resize by moving that cursor to the edge of the column and just dragging it to where I want it to be. Or I can assign a width to make it uniform. So I can, let's do select all, right click, column width. Let's type in 20. You can do the same thing with rows. I don't recommend doing it to rows until the very end or when you're about to print excerpts into Word, unless you really want to make it, the font bigger. There's a reason why I don't recommend doing rows right off the bat. Let's say you want to wrap text. You see this guy right here? It's much longer. The content is much longer than what fits into the cell. So if you click on a cell or even the column, there's a feature here called wrap text. And when you click on it, it fits the data into the cell, or it wraps it into different lines. It'll adjust if you resize. So let's see, it just fits it into this cell because of its width right now, but if I do this, it will adjust. We can also hide columns that we don't want to see. A lot of times audit trails have 20 columns, 20 or more columns at the top, and not all of them are critical. And you might not want to be scrolling back and forth. You want to have all your data on one screen. To hide a column, you click on the column you want to hide, right click, and click hide. To unhide, select the surrounding columns, right click, unhide. You can select more than one by clicking the columns you want with control. You can also undo it this way. Same thing applies to rows. Okay, the next thing I want to show is data sorting. And typically, especially with Epic and Cerner, the timestamp column it displays data in descending chronological order. So it shows the most recent timestamp first. But I like to see my data in chronological order. So we're going to select all the data, go to sort and filter, and you can do it two ways. If it's simple like this, you can just click sort A to Z, which shows it goes in oldest to newest. But it took away my header, so that's not good. You see how my header's gone? Okay. I don't like that option. So we're going to go to sort here, and we're going to do the custom sort. You see my data has headers. Click that. Now it'll recognize the header and sort by timestamp and hit OK. Yes. Okay. So now it's in chronological order. The next thing I like to do is I add data filters to the header row. The header row is this guy up here with the different column names. Click this. Go to sort and filter and click filter. You'll know you've attached filters when you see these drop-down menu options here. You can also do it this way, data and filter, but it's right here in the home ribbon, so might as well use it. Filters are good for two things. First, to see the content of the column. Imagine this audit trail is like 10,000 rows long. And let's say I want to know the name of every user in the audit trail. I'd have to scroll down here and remember what I previously saw for like 10,000 rows. That's impractical. Instead, I use the data filter, and I have like a bird's eye view of who's in this audit trail. It'll be longer than this, obviously, in a real audit trail, but this shows what you can do. I can also select specific people that I want to maybe examine closely. So I can, right now it has everybody selected. I can click I can unclick or deselect all and click on, let's say, Nurse B. Now I only see Nurse B's action. Notice that the filter is grayed out or it's colored in here, which tells me that I have a filter applied. Whenever you have a new analysis, you want to clear your filters. So let's say I was looking up what every action that Dr. 1 did with event. Remember I said it's not going to make any sense. Event type 10. I've got 2 filters applied here. So before I want to look up anything else, I have to clear my filters. Notice that when I scroll down, the header bar disappears. I don't really need the header bar when I'm analyzing data because I know what I'm looking at even without the header bar. But if you're new to audit trails, you might not know that. So you might want to keep this header bar static while you're scrolling. To do that, you have to freeze the top frame or pane. We're going to go to View up here and click Freeze Panes, Freeze Top Row. And now I scroll down and it stays, the header, it remains. Now I'm going to go over some formatting tips. First, I'm going to talk about color. I like to use color a lot. You know, when there's so many cells and it's all black and white, it can, you know, all blur together. And I like to make data stand out if it's important. So let's say, let's use this guy. You see this paint bucket here? That's the fill button. And you can choose different colors for the background of the cell. So let's do yellow. Let's do a few yellows. This guy, and this guy. And let's make another color. Let's make this one orange. And this one orange. Then if you know if you're scrolling and you want to color something that stands out to you or something interesting to you, you can come back to it later and go up here, go to the filter option. Notice that in this filtered option, there's only one option here because it's the same line over and over again, versus here it varies. But if I want to see what I filtered by color, I can go here, filter by color, and hit or select the color that I want and do that. So that's a nice way of going through data and, you know, labeling or distinguishing certain cells that you want to come back to for some reason. Then I'll do that again in case it was too fast. Before I click this, that selects it, and then to unselect it, you just take off the check mark. You can also color the font or the actual text itself and not the background, not the font, sorry. We'll go here and we can select red. And you can also filter it that way. Text filters. Yeah. Okay. I also want to show how you can change the font and the alignment. We can select all. It's just like Word. You can pick a font if you want a different font. You can increase the size. Which I did not do. Here we go. Okay. Then you can, if it's kind of tight here, you can manually, like we did earlier, resize it, or you can always do this too. Notice the placement of the cell, the text in the cell is at the bottom. You can play around with that. Let's do it with this guy. So here, these are the buttons for text alignment. You can, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. You can, well, let's use this one guy here. Left align it here, center, right. And these buttons appear align height-wise. When I copy and paste Excel excerpts into Word for reports, I either left align like this, or I think centering both looks nice too. But everyone's different. You can make borders. There's a faint gray border here, border line you can see. And if you put this into Word, it'll keep the grid here. But you want to paste it as a picture. So let's do that right now. Let's say I'm making a report and I want to copy and paste an excerpt from the audit trail into my Word document. I'm going to click on the cell that I want to start with, and then drag it while my mouse is still clicked down, and then drag it across whatever I want. Right click, copy, go to Word, and if I hit paste, it's not going to look nice. It's going to, I'll just do it. You can see it spills over because it's too wide. Also, you can technically edit this, and I don't want any excerpts that I put into a Word document to be editable. So instead of just hitting paste, you can click paste as a picture. Instead of doing that, you can also right click paste as a picture. And then it's not editable, and you can also drag it and resize it. And you can see that the grid, the lines, they do show up here.
Locked audit trails. Sometimes when you open an audit trail in Excel, you'll notice that all or part of the ribbon is grayed out, meaning you can't click any of the tools. If that happens, it means someone has intentionally locked the workbook. They probably did it by turning on protection through the review menu and setting a password to restrict editing. The result is that you can't use Excel's built-in features that make data analysis easier and faster. In some cases, the fix is simple. You can copy and paste the entire sheet into a brand new workbook that often removes the protection and restores full functionality. But sometimes the audit trail is locked in a way that even prevents copying. If that happens, there's a good workaround. Upload the locked Excel file to your Google Drive, then open it in Google Sheets. Once it opens, select all the data, copy it, and paste it into a new Excel workbook.
So, how was it? Not too bad, right? I feel like a parent asking a kid how their first roller coaster ride was. So let me know what you thought in the comments. If you learned something new, if you found one of the things that I taught especially helpful that you plan on using, I'd love to get some feedback. And definitely like and subscribe to support my channel if you want me to continue making, additional videos. I do have several new videos planned for November and December, and I'm looking forward to sharing those with you. Next week, I'll be posting another case study that I've worked on, basically another audit trail that I've worked on, a real one. And I also have a true crime episode planned on Dr. Connor Bowman. And in the first half of December, I'll be sharing a video on the Take Care of Maya case. So definitely come back for those episodes. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. This is What the Chart Won't Say, where we follow the data and let the facts speak for themselves. Bye.
For professionals in the medical legal field who want to learn how to analyze EMR audit trails, this book was written for you. What the Chart Won't Say is a practical, step-by-step guide that explains how to read, interpret, and understand EMR audit trails in medical malpractice cases. It was created for attorneys, legal nurse consultants, risk managers, and medical professionals who need a clear and approachable introduction to this complex topic. In-person classes will also be offered in early 2026 in the Chicagoland area for those who want to expand their knowledge and apply these skills in practice. Instructions for purchasing the book and signing up for classes will be announced on November 1st.